Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports. This is the Raptors Happy Hour, which we're bringing you in a brand new month for Monday, February 2nd. It is trade deadline week in the NBA. We've already seen a few trades take place in the NBA. We're going to be talking a little bit about those and actually why there may be an impact there on the Toronto Raptors. We're also going to talk about the recent run of games for the Raptors where the offense hasn't looked as good as we would probably like it to be. And we're also going to look at, of course, the NBA All-Star selections. One Raptor has made it. A couple former Raptors have made it. Question marks about whether the Raptors should have two players in the All-Star game. And maybe some other people. Question marks of why they are in. We're going to cover all of this and more on the show today. If you do enjoy what you see, make sure you hit the like button. It does go a long way to supporting the show, help driving us up in the YouTube algorithm. And for trade deadline coverage, for reaction to it, Raptors coverage all year round, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and keep up to date with everything that we are bringing your way. Should be a good one. Should be a good week, guys. Trade deadline is this Thursday. So plenty to discuss, as always. Part of the show, part of what drives us here is the chat. Ask questions. Let me know what you're thinking. And I should have any issues getting to everything. Hope everyone is well. Hopefully you all had a good start to your week. We were live yesterday for the Raptors game against the Utah Jazz, which was a little bit of an underwhelming performance. Not the greatest of games overall, but the Raptors won, and you know what? They've played better and lost, so I'm okay with them not playing to their best and still finding a way to win. 4 more games coming up at home in this homestand. Raptors, they felt a little bit flat in the last 3 games, so a nice, real cushion here. 2 full days off tonight and tomorrow, no game for the Raptors. Last week they had similar. They had 2 full days off, but that was on the back of a West Coast road trip. You know, it's never easy adjusting to the new time zone and unpacking all your stuff, getting settled back into your place. I mean, they can be difficult. They can be, but, you know, they're home. They're home on Sunday, 2 nights off. They're home on Wednesday. No need to go anywhere. So hopefully all is well and the Raptors can find success in their upcoming game against the Timberwolves. Raptors have something like a 20-game win streak at home against the Timberwolves. It's a franchise record. I'm not sure if it's like some sort of NBA record, but that's a crazy record. So we'll hope to keep that going because the Timberwolves, of course, are a good team as well. So trade season is here. It's coming to a close. A lot of good stuff. Let's jump into the things with the chat. Thank you so much to Q-Man for joining us. Daniel Berry Sports highlights as well, and Adam H. Thank you so much. Adam H. asking about the stream schedule for the week. So stream schedule is probably going to be as follows. We're going to go slightly modified for the week. Instead of going live on Wednesday for the trade deadline, we're actually going to move Wednesday's happy hour up to tomorrow. So tomorrow will be the basically trade deadline preview. I decided I didn't really want to do it Wednesday night right before the trade deadline. I wanted to give it like a full 24 hours, a full day window to kind of settle in on YouTube and people get to enjoy it, hopefully, with a little bit more time. So we're actually going to shift things, and tomorrow we're going to be doing the happy hour. Nothing going to take place on Wednesday. I'm also very busy with work on Wednesday, which factored into my decision. Thursday, I am unsure if I will be streaming. I will do my best to do a stream on Thursday. I will try to get something in from like 3 to 4 o'clock just to kind of like react to it. And then we'll have the happy hour as normal on Friday at 5 p.m. So Thursday, it's pending. Thursday is pending. I would say if you do want to keep up to date with everything, the YouTube post page, I'll update people. The Discord, which is linked in the description. You go to the streaming updates channel, or you can hit the notification bell here so you know when the content is coming your way. But I'm going to do my best. I'd like to stream Thursday. It's just a case of I have a job and things are difficult there. LeClown joining us and asking how missed this season. How are the Raps overall? Well, they're 30-21. They're top 4 seed. Personally, I'm happy. I don't know about you guys, but for a team I thought that was going to be hovering on 500, I am pretty happy there. But let's dig into some of the content here for today's show. So these shows usually run for about an hour. If I have to cut it like a little short just because we're done, then we're done. But just bear that in mind. Usually these shows aim for about an hour. But let's dig into the All-Star selections, because we just got it revealed which players have made the NBA All-Star game as reserves. And as I was mentioning, we have one Raptor who made it, one Raptor who might have made it but didn't end up making it, and two former Raptors who are in the game. So let's go through both of the rosters. We'll talk about the Raptor that made it. We'll talk about if they should have a second person there, and if anybody else was snubbed and anybody else on the teams actually maybe shouldn't being there. We'll break it all down right now. So this was revealed during the Sunday window of games, which by the way, I think is really dumb. Like, the Raptors basically found out who their All-Stars were and weren't during the first quarter of their win against the Utah Jazz. Like, why should a player have to find out while they're in a game if they didn't make it and they're disappointed now? Like, that shouldn't be the case. NBA has got to fix this. They need to reveal the All-Stars like midday, or just like at a time where there are no NBA games. Like, maybe even wait until after the games are completed. They got to do a better job than revealing it during the game, I think. But during the reveal, we found out that Scottie Barnes is, in fact, yes, an NBA All-Star for the second time in his career. Unfortunately, there was no room for a second Raptor in Brandon Ingram. It was always going to be difficult. It's always difficult to get two All-Stars. Typically, you have to be one of like the real higher seeds for the coaches who select the All-Star reserves to think like, this team deserves having two All-Stars. Like, this stuff tends to matter to them. So it was always going to be difficult there. But unfortunately, Brandon Ingram, despite his quality play so far this season, didn't quite get in. And I have to say, it's kind of tough to make a case for him against the other people that did make it. Let's start off with the Western Conference here and look at the players who did end up getting into the All-Star game. So obviously the starters we already had Curry, Doncic, Shea, Jokic, Wemby. Not a ton of debate there. Anthony Edwards had a really good shot of getting in. He ended up just missing out on being a starter, but he does get in as reserve alongside Devin Booker, who's playing very well. And the Suns have been excellent this season, shockingly. We have Kevin Durant, Chet Holmgren, Jamal Murray, Denny Avdija, and LeBron James. So LeBron definitely getting in, the legacy vote. Guys like Kobe have gotten in before like this. Even the year I think Dirk and Wade got in. It was, okay, he didn't deserve it, but okay, LeBron's has got to get in. Jamal Murray, super happy for him. First time All-Star. First time ever Nikola Jokic, by the way, has an All-Star teammate, so that's great. Super happy for a Canadian guard in Jamal Murray. Denny Avdija seems to be the most contentious choice out of the Western Conference, which we'll touch on a little bit more in just a second here. But shifting to the Eastern Conference, the starters, of course, Giannis, Jaylen Brown, Brunson, Cade, Tyrese Maxey. They've all been exceptional this season. Again, not really a lot you can debate there. As for the reserves, Scottie Barnes, yes, like I said, an NBA All-Star, along with Jalen Duren, Jalen Johnson, Donovan Mitchell, Norman Powell, former Raptor, first All-Star appearance, Pascal Siakam, former Raptor, fourth All-Star appearance, and Karl Anthony Towns. So right away, people looked at Siakam. They looked at I think they're 13-win Indiana Pacers. They are a bottom 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. You take a look at the standings here. They're actually bottom right now. There is a right to be confused as to how the bottom seed in the Eastern Conference has a player in the NBA All-Star game in Pascal Siakam. I don't want to take away a lot from Pascal Siakam's season. Plus, biased. I am a very large Pascal Siakam fan. He's playing extremely well. He's operated like an All-Star season. He's scoring an efficient 24 points per game, and is the driving force, of this team. All the offense that they're getting, but they're the bottom seed. And no player has made it with a worse record than this since Kobe Bryant in 2016 when the Lakers had 9 wins. And, like I said, you get that legacy vote like LeBron gets. But let's focus on the positives to start here. Scottie Barnes is an NBA All-Star, and I didn't want to I really wanted this for Scottie Barnes, and he absolutely deserved it this season. It felt like for a lot of the season so far that, like, for sure he had to get in, right? I didn't want to tempt fate and said he was a lock to get in, but he really should have been a lock to get in. I just always concerned about how Raptors players are going to be treated and things like this. But he does get in. There cannot be any arguments here. The Raptors are the 4 seed. He has been the best player on that 4 seed. He's averaging an efficient 19.3 points per game, 8.3 rebounds, 5.5 assists. Doing all of this as well. I'm just looking at the true shooting percentage here. True shooting percentage of 57.4, the highest of his career, a huge upgrade compared to last season. And he's doing all of this amazing stuff on offense while playing like a defensive player of the year candidate, a legitimate defensive player of the year candidate. I mean, at this rate, he is looking extremely good to make an all-defense team, which the strides he has taken at this aspect of his game is sensational, and I'm so happy for him. So very much deserving of this spot here that you don't even really need to cover it any further. Now, the player that hasn't gotten in is Brandon Ingram. He had a shot. I said before it was announced that I wouldn't be shocked if he did get in. I also wouldn't be shocked if he didn't get in. And there's just only so many spaces available for these guys that it wasn't enough for Ingram. He averaged 22 points per game, 47% from the field, 36% from 3. True shooting percentage, good measure of efficiency of 56.6. Decent there. And just the Raptors record. Like, they probably were good enough record-wise to maybe get a second All-Star in. But unfortunately, I do have to say once again that I'm not completely shocked he didn't get in here. And when I saw he didn't get in, I was upset. I looked at the team and decided, you know what? I can understand why that's the case. It's hard to get a second All-Star, first of all, but I think everyone in here is pretty deserving of their spot. Like Jalen Duren, pretty solid case, great player, plus the Pistons are the 1 seed. I can understand that. Norman Powell, I'm so happy for Norman Powell, by the way. I mean, what a story. 46th overall pick. Just grinded to get where, I mean, the lengths he went through, the progressions he's made through his NBA career to get to this point. 32-year-old, second-round pick, first-time All-Star. Congratulations to him. He's putting up outstanding statistics this season. We always wondered in our Raptors days if he could scale this up to a starting role consistently. He's proven ever since we traded him how much of a mistake it was that we traded him, because he probably was deserving of an All-Star appearance last season as well. This year he's upped it even further, 23 points per game. The efficiency may have dropped down a little bit, but I think this is a deserving All-Star here. I'm very, very happy for Norman Powell. I don't want to take that away from him. The guy that is on the bubble is for sure Pascal Siakam. This is for sure the player you could question, like, why is this player in ahead of Brandon Ingram? The record is a big deal. You know, for years and years, we had Pascal Siakam on the Raptors, and I thought, like, this is a player that's deserving of an All-Star appearance, and he wasn't getting in year after year. And all the time, people were talking about the record. The record is why he's not getting. The record needs to be better. Well, here we have Siakam on the worst team in the Eastern Conference, and he's getting in. It's just a little bit frustrating. I don't think record should matter as much as it does, but for all these years, it has mattered this much. So, like, you know, how come all of a sudden it doesn't matter? Again, I'm a big Pascal Siakam fan, so I'm thrilled for him. I'm thrilled for Norman Powell. Little bit upsetting that oftentimes a player, like, you know, you look at Siakam now, he's a 2-time All-Star with the Pacers. He'll have ever made 2 All-Star appearances with the Raptors. Norman Powell getting all this recognition now. The recognition OG Anunoby now gets with the Knicks. It's very frustrating that players tend to have to leave Toronto to get the respect that they always deserved while they were in Toronto. But let's not make this about, like, the Raptors as much necessarily there. Where I'm also not really having a very large problem with Brandon Ingram missing. I'm just trying to be a realist here. Like, I'm bummed. I'm upset. But, like, where I also think, like, Brandon Ingram doesn't get in, I don't even think if there's an injury here, or if, like, we could take out Siakam and put in somebody else, I don't even think he gets in still. I think, unfortunately, that place would go to Michael Porter Jr. I think this is probably the largest snub of all the players that missed out on an All-Star appearance. I mean, I get that the Brooklyn Nets haven't been great, but Michael Porter Jr. has proven he can be like a first option on offense. He's brought his game up to nearly 26 points per game, and he's doing it very efficiently, shooting nearly 40% from three on almost 10 attempts. Like, do you know how outrageous that is? A true shooting percentage above 61, almost 62%. Like, do you know how outrageous that is to do this at this level of usage, taking 18.8 field goal attempts per game? That's incredible. And I have to give him a lot of credit for being able to achieve that. So I think even if we took out a player and added in another, I don't even think Brandon Ingram would get in. But still bummed for Brandon Ingram. Now, I think also where there's some qualms with the teams here is Pascal Siakam, I think it's safe to say he's getting in because of the new format of the All-Star game. The All-Star game has transitioned to a Team USA versus Team World format. There are 2 teams of 8 that will represent Team USA and 1 team of 8 that will represent Team World. So it seems like the NBA forced themselves to satisfy the need for 8 Team World players. And as a result, I think that's why they had to go for Pascal Siakam. I actually haven't counted. I'm actually kind of wondering, does Norman Powell qualify as a Team World player for his representation of Jamaica? I'm actually not entirely sure if that's the case. Maybe we should just count the non-US players right now. So there's one there in Giannis, 2 here in Pascal, 3 here in Shea, 4 here in Jokic, 5 here in Doncic, 6 here, in Victor Wembanyama, 7 here in Denny Avdia, and 8 here in Jamal Murray. So I actually, unless I'm making a mistake here, it seems as though Norman Powell, because Karl Anthony Towns represents Dominican. So I'm not sure which one is which. Anyways, I think it'll be Karl Anthony Towns representing Team World as a player who's played for Dominican at the FIBA level. I'm not sure Norman Powell's actually represented Jamaica at the FIBA level. Regardless, very much feels as though Pascal Siakam's inclusion had something to do with Team World, where I'm not upset at the NBA for changing the format here, because the format is so tired for sure in the All-Star game that it kind of needed a shake up, and at least they're trying something. It's not going to make me watch, but at least they're trying something. The only issue that I have with it is being an All-Star is such an accolade for NBA players, and it's treated as such an importance by the media that, it really should be. And they've done a good job of making it so it's not position dependent, right? That was definitely an improvement on it. But I do see an issue here where maybe not the most deserving players made it. Maybe this isn't the best 24 players most deserving of an All-Star appearance because we had to go to the Team World, Team USA format. That's just my one kind of gripe with it a little bit. And people have argued that's why Denny Avdia's gotten in. Now listen, from separating the person from the basketball, I can understand. Listen, before I separate, I can understand the distaste for Denny Avdia. I can certainly understand where people are coming from there. However, I don't think you could argue his status as an All-Star with the way he has played this season. He has been phenomenal for the Portland Trail Blazers, doing so much for that team. So I don't really see snubs here from a Western Conference perspective. I think that more the conversation on snubs definitely comes in the East, and I think it is a Team World format that has that is the reason that's the case. I feel for Michael Porter Jr. because I think he probably deserved to get in there. I'm bummed for Brandon Ingram, but with Giannis out injured, I wonder how this is going to change. Do they have to now choose a Team World player to replace Giannis? And if they do, I'm actually wondering who that player is going to be. But all in all, let's take it positive. Scottie Barnes is an All-Star for the second time. Last time it was as an injury reserve. This time, there really was no doubt about it. Do you guys have any idea in the chat who would be? Because, now listen, people, I saw somebody say Embiid. Jordan T in chat said Embiid. I mean, Joel Embiid played for Team USA at the previous Olympics, okay? I don't want Joel Embiid switching up now, just picking and choosing which country he's going to represent to benefit himself. Okay? You chose Team USA. You're a Team USA player, boss. You ain't fucking Team World at the All-Star game when your fucking teammates are on the other side of the court, where your fucking national team teammates are on the other side of the court. So if we're going to stick to Team USA, we're sticking to Team USA. If that's the case, all right. Who is the player that should get in for Team World if Giannis is not going to play here? Trying to look at some snubs. Oh, do we have to? Well, we have to stay in the East, don't we? I was going to say Alperen Şengün should feel very aggrieved that he hasn't gotten in, because I think he's deserving of it. LeBron James, man, I don't know. Kawhi Leonard hasn't gotten in. That's a little bit of surprise as well. Kawhi should have gotten in over LeBron, if we're going to be honest. Other than that, who could replace Giannis? I don't know. I mean, Franz Wagner, has he played like enough to get in here? Who else? I mean, does Josh Giddey get in as an international player? Do we even go as far as OG Anunoby? This will be my Andrew Nemhard. What? No. There's no way no. Andrew Nemhard is not going to get into the All-Star game. I respect it, but he's not getting into the All-Star game. Josh Giddey probably. I mean, we're really having to push it to get in enough players for the Team World format here. We really like 4 of the top 5 NBA players, funnily enough, are not Team USA. But then the rest to fill it out just becomes difficult, you know? I mean, actually, the top 5 players in the NBA, are not American. You could make a very big case about that. Shea, Luka, Giannis, Jokic, and Wemby. I would say the top 5 players in the NBA are not American. And then you kind of struggle the rest of the way to fill out for Team World. So if Giannis misses out, it actually might turn into Josh Giddey being an all-star. Anyways, happy for Barnes. I don't think Brandon Ingram's getting in here. Because if it goes to an American, I think Michael Porter Jr. goes up next. I don't know. Injury reserves are picked by Adam Silver specifically. Adam Silver chooses them. So, depends how Adam Silver's feeling. When Scottie Barnes was an injury reserve, Adam Silver chose him. So, maybe there's a little bit of respect for the Raptors there. Again, we will just have to wait and see. Anyways, we'll keep moving. If Giannis is out of the All-Star game and Ingram's injury, somebody mentioned chat is Ingram. I think they have to choose. I mean, if they go with any player and don't worry about being a Team World player to replace Giannis, I think they will go with MPJ before Ingram, to be honest. Just wondering, could they do are there any players in the West that would miss the game? If they miss a Team World player in the West, or Team USA, let's say LeBron sits out for injury or something, would they then be able to put an American player in the East and then a Team World player in the West because they picked them at the same time? Maybe they could do that, and that could reach us a Brandon Ingram bid. I think that's our only hope. Giannis is out and LeBron sits out, so they can put a Team World player in the West and a Team USA player in. If they do a Team World player in the West, Şengün is a pretty easy choice, and then they could go to. An American player in the East, and they could maybe choose Brandon Ingram there. If you're holding out hope for Brandon Ingram, I think that's your hope. We need a player in each conference to miss, and we need Giannis and an American player in the West to miss, and maybe that gives Brandon Ingram a shot at getting into the All-Star game, because Şengün is way more deserving of any other non-American player in the Eastern Conference. So we'll have to wait and see on that front. If Pascal can get an MPJ, will be justified. Yeah. This might set a precedent for Pascal. Like, man, I guess it's just a case like from the drop off from Siakam to anybody else who could have made Team World in the East is very vast. That it just forced Siakam to get in. Like, who are you placing with OG Anunoby or Josh Giddey? Probably not quite all-star level players there. As much as I like OG, of course. Dillon Brooks, honestly, is not an impossible selection for the Western Conference if they really do need non-American players. It's actually not impossible for him to get in there. Alex says, it's so funny at the Olympics when the Americans were doing media and Embiid had a heavy accent and the others didn't. I mean, it's not like uncommon for a foreign player to play for a different team. Like FIBA rules, you're allowed to have one naturalized player. Like for Team Japan, they have like an American, like a 7-foot center that plays for them, like a naturalized player. So it's not exactly like uncommon necessarily, but you know, there are people who are Canadian or American and have an accent, just naturalized player, and I can understand why people of France are maybe upset at Embiid for playing for Team USA over them, or I guess he could played for. Is he also from Cameroon? Joel Embiid, I think. I mean, they're not in, so I mean, if he plays for them, they get him and Siakam. Maybe they could do some damage. Half the West would be enemies with Dillon Brooks. That'd be a tough player to play with as a teammate, wouldn't it? For sure. NBA champion Chris Boucher. I saw like last week, Chris Boucher took so the Celtics were up by a lot, and they put him in for garbage time, and he took a shot at the buzzer, and someone, I forget who they were playing, I think it was even Draymond, got mad at him. Somebody got mad at him for shooting at the buzzer, but he had to explain that he hasn't made a bucket since November, so he wanted to end that run. Turns out Chris Boucher wasn't that good, by the way. After all this clamor about him leaving. But, as Dal says, NBA champion, you can never take that away from the man. Absolutely not. Respect to our Canadian NBA champion. I don't know if he's technically a two-time NBA champion. Maybe he is. It's time with the Warriors. I'm not sure if he classifies as an NBA champion with them over there. Anyways, we'll switch gears here. Last 3 games for the Raptors have been a little bit more eye-opening. We've seen some more, like, I wouldn't say eye-opening necessarily, but we have seen some of these glaring issues that exist with the Raptors propping up a little bit more prominently as of late. So let's discuss exactly what those issues are, first of all, and then we'll discuss what can be done to rectify this to actually make sure that it doesn't continue to happen going forward for the rest of the season. And it's important to solve these things because the Raptors right now are the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. They are making a push to make the playoffs as a top 6 seed, not having to go through the issues of a play-in tournament here. They're looking good. They're the 4th seed right now. We're more than 50 games into the season. The Raptors just won their 30th game in their 51st game of the season. They won 30 games all of last year. Things are going in absolutely the right direction for the Raptors, and they're coming off a win in their previous game. But they didn't play particularly well in that win. And the 2 games before that, they looked really, really bad in the late stage of the game. And where the Raptors' problem has really been lying has been when the game constricts itself into this playoff sort of environment. The game slows down. The Raptors have to operate in the half court more often. That is really more reminiscent of a playoff environment. Where the Raptors have had a lot of their success this season has been playing in transition. You notice in these games lately where the Raptors are succeeding, like they are seriously pushing the ball off of it, even off makes. Like the amount of buckets they're getting in transition off makes lately is crazy. Like they are using the pace to their advantage. And oftentimes when we get into these later game settings, the Raptors deviate into a much more half-court oriented offense that just hasn't been consistent enough in these stages of the season right now. So it is a little bit alarming, like when they get in these sets. I think like sometimes they'll get into these late stage scenarios of the games and they'll be up and they're just basically trying to pray the clock runs out on the game. But they need to continue to be successful. They need to continue to put up points. Sometimes that means maybe still playing fast. Up to a certain extent, I'd say I'd rather get a good shot early than a bad shot late, where the Raptors sometimes have been more in favor of that bad shot just to milk a little bit more of the clock. But along with, the half-court offense maybe not being fantastic, like they've had a ton of reliance in half-court all season, and sometimes to a lot of success, they've had to rely in the half-court a ton on Brandon Ingram. Like they've really just lent on him in some games. Basically, it's like I keep saying during the watch longs, you have to give the ball to Brandon Ingram in play. But along with where that has been a bit of an issue playing in half court, they've also struggled when they've had to match the physicality of another team, and they struggle when they get into a shootout against another team. This one wasn't necessarily a shootout, but let's take the Utah Jazz game for an example. They very much struggled with the physicality and the size of the Jazz in this game here. The Utah Jazz, in the end, in the 7-point loss, out-rebound the Raptors by 14. That's a little bit of a concern. And points in the paint, they're plus 12 there. So minus 12 for points in the paint, minus 14 for rebounds for the Raptors in this one, which made it a lot harder of a task here. They made very heavy work of the game as a result, just no body to compete with Jusuf Nurkic, and oftentimes very little resistance towards guys like Lauri Markkanen and Isaiah Collier getting to the rim. But we also saw these sorts of similar traits in the loss to the Orlando Magic, where the game got very physical and against the New York Knicks. But on top of where the physicality has been a problem, when the Raptors play some of these better teams like the Knicks or the Magic, if those teams start to pull away from an offensive standpoint and kind of make it into a bit of a shootout, the Raptors just can't really hang there. Like the game against the Magic, this is a bad three-point shooting team. They got hot from three. We could not go with them. The Raptors go 7 of 28 from three against the Magic. They just don't have the shooters that can compete there. So when when the other team's making a ton of shots and you're not getting as much transition looks, it makes your offense a whole lot harder to operate when that's kind of your specialty, playing on offense. The Raptors led by 13 going into the fourth quarter, and they end up losing by 10. They only mustered up 21 fourth quarter points. At one point, it was 33-10, the score in that fourth quarter. Same thing can kind of be said for the game against the New York Knicks, where the Raptors shoot 27% from three, 7 of 26. The Knicks heated up in the second half and completely ran away with this game. The Raptors couldn't match their physicality. The Raptors couldn't match their scoring. And as a result, the Knicks just slowly, in the second half, not slowly, very fast, the Knicks started to pull away. So where are the problems lying for the Raptors right now? Because they've won a lot of these scrappy games this season, but when the game, what's alarming here, as much as I'm happy they're 30-21, that's great. I'm very happy. Where like some of the red flags are arising for myself at the moment is that the Raptors struggle in the environments that are more closely resembling of a playoff environment, where the game is slow, where it's a lot more half-court oriented, where it gets a lot more physical. That's where some of the problems lie. So what kind of needs to change? Well, first of all, the physicality aspect of it, we still don't have the size to compete down low against certain opposition, against certain matchups. That's something that I think before the trade deadline, that is something that absolutely needs to get addressed. I continue to harp on it. I don't think we need to, make this blockbuster trade, but a solid rotation big like Goga Bitadze, I think makes a big difference to the team and helps us out a lot. And I think it would have made a very large difference in the game against the Utah Jazz. Just having that match, having the ability to go to that matchup. We're not just looking for any big, like Nick Richards. That doesn't solve things. You need physicality, you need rim protection, you need rebounding. On top of that, and this is going to be a lot harder to address before the trade deadline, but the floor spacing. Like, if you're going to rely so heavily on Brandon Ingram, and you need to rely on guys like Barnes and Barrett to chip in on the interior, you need to give them a little bit more space to operate, give them a little bit more breathing room. And when we get into shootouts, who are the guys that are going to be able to match those spells where the other team is hitting a bunch of shots? We just don't have that sort of consistency from the outside. The Raptors have been one of the bottom teams in terms of three-point shooting in the NBA this season. That's going to make it difficult for the Raptors to find that competitiveness in these tougher series. Like, the Celtics have found us out this season. They're 3-0 against us. The Knicks have found us out this season. They're 3-0 against us. Yes, we've done well against teams like the Cavs. We're 3-0 against them. Granted, they're playing much better lately. But it just leaves me with a little bit of concern for the rest of the season. I feel good about where the Raptors are at talent-wise, but just shoring up these certain areas, I think, is something that definitely should be a focus by the front office and Bobby Webster heading in towards the trade deadline. Because Bobby Webster has said, he is going to let the team finish what they started this season. Okay, sure, but you're also, like, as much as that's great that, you're allowing these guys to go finish season and continue to play together, you're doing them a disservice by allowing them to continue while not providing them the necessary tools to find the most success. We're not even close to saying that he's like setting them up for failure, but he's making the task a lot harder for them. And I feel like it's not super complicated trades to solve at least one of the areas of concern. But I think if you really do care about making a playoff push this season, you are the Raptors front office, you should look towards getting something here to help us out here in the coming days before the NBA trade deadline. I don't want to get into the playoffs. I really want to get into the playoffs. That's first and foremost. I don't want to get there and just be basically pissed off that, like, the things that have held us back all season continue to hold us back as we get into the playoffs. I don't want that to be the reality for the Raptors. Be real, no one really believes Bobby said that. I mean, I believe he said it. I don't believe he meant it. I believe he said it just because none of the trades are really materializing, and he wants the team to feel good and get morale up a little bit, which is fine. But yeah, I said it many times. If the sorry, I lost my train of thought there. If a good trade comes his way, if a good trade is offered towards him, he's going to do it. He's not going to be like, oh, I'm just going to end up, just going to keep guys together, finish what they started. No, if a good trade comes his way, he is going to make that trade, for sure. Sabonis is a name a lot of people have talked about, but I actually think that I think a trade is a little bit off the table right now, honestly. So getting into this, so it was a pretty sizable trade in the NBA over the weekend. Cavaliers sent DeAndre Hunter to the Kings for Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. Three-team trade also saw two future second-round picks going to the Bulls, as well as Dario Saric. So the Kings just took on another, rather hilariously, the Kings have just taken on another pretty bad contract. A little bit of DeAndre is a solid player, but he's making a bit too much money, okay? Here are the trade details as a whole. Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis to the Kings. DeAndre Hunter to the Schroeder and Ellis to the Cavs, Hunter to the Kings, Saric and 2 second-round picks to the Bulls. Not a fantastic contract for DeAndre Hunter, $23.3 million. Next year, $24.9 million. He's good. He's not that good. That's pretty expensive. And the Cavs were pretty desperate to get off of this contract. So I'm a little bit confused why the Sacramento Kings made this trade. Why did the Kings do this? All they have here is another probably negative asset in DeAndre Hunter. The Kings suck, and this doesn't make them not suck anymore. They get no future compensation for it. Somehow they turn Keon Ellis, a player like half the league was interested in getting, they turn Keon Ellis into a negative asset for themselves. They're already horrific cap situation where they're overpaying so many players. Gets even worse after making this trade. I have no idea what the motivation behind this trade was. For the Cavs, I think it's pretty good. They get off DeAndre Hunter. Dennis Schroeder provides them more quality to the point guard depth, and with all the injuries to Darius Garland over the years, that's good to have. And Keon Ellis is a good rotation piece for them and brings in some additional shooting and defense. Like, no problem at all with that for the Cavs. Solid moves. Dennis Schroeder gets traded again, which is funny. He's been, since the Raptors signed him, they traded him to Brooklyn, who traded him to Golden State, who traded him to the Jazz, who flipped him to the Pistons, then he signed for the Kings, who have traded him to the Cavs. Like, he has been all around the Atlantic Division lately, and all around, like, the Eastern Conference here. But solid move for the Cavs. I just don't understand why the Kings did it. Anyways, the point I want to make and how this relates to the Raptors, I think this decreases the likelihood of a Sabonis trade because what probably would have had to be included in the deal is R.J. Barrett, maybe even R.J. Barrett and Jakob Poeltl. I can't see the Kings, after taking on another bad contract here, taking on yet another bad contract or two to make this trade with Sabonis possible. Now, granted, they're getting off Sabonis, which is something they want to do, but I don't think they're prepared to take on even more bad contracts to make it happen. Now, I say that, and this is a team that traded Tyrese Halliburton and didn't maximize De'Aaron Fox's value, didn't maximize Keon Ellis' value, and traded for Zach LaVine and overpaid for DeMar DeRozan. This is maybe the worst organization in the NBA. Like, whenever you think, like, ill of the Raptors organization, okay, sure. At least you are not a Sacramento Kings fan. I'm so sorry for the Sacramento Kings fans out there. I know there aren't, like, a ton, but, like, I feel bad. This is a horrific organization to be a fan of and root for. But I think that this does decrease the opportunity of a Domantas Sabonis trade being materialized for the Raptors, which honestly, I'm like not a big fan of Sabonis, but like I'm also kind of tempted to get off of the Poeltl contract, and I think if you get Sabonis, you're able to do that. So like part of me is tempted by it, but again, I think this decreases the chances of that happening. Brian Lopez, I didn't think a Sabonis trade would make the Raptors better, given the fact we would have to give up RJ or quickly. That too, you'd have to lose probably RJ and Poeltl. RJ's been a great player for you this season. You could probably make a very large case that RJ is just a more impactful player than Sabonis is, to be honest. So, yeah, I'm okay passing on Sabonis. It's just the Poeltl contract is starting to scare me. Also, another trade that took place in the NBA. Almost Spaz Canucks. Probably worse, to be honest. Also traded in the NBA, Vic Krejci traded to the Portland Trailblazers for Duop Reith and 2 future second-round picks. Pretty good pickup overall for the Trailblazers here. Hawks get a couple of future assets, which is I guess nice for them. But this is like a very quality 3-point shooter in the NBA. So wondering why Portland were kind of the team were able to get this done. I'm sure if you offered this like a lot of teams, they could have given something like this. But Portland end up being the team that get this one done. So pretty good for them. I think pretty solid for both, to be honest. But I kind of like it maybe a little bit more for Portland. But that's definitely not like a that's not a trade that's changing the world. I suppose necessarily, but. Solid pickup overall there. Anyways, Trade deadline week, man. Get it big. Bobby's got to do something. The Raptors are above the tax, not by much, but I would still be inclined to believe that the Raptors are going to do something to duck the tax. Raptors are going to be doing something. As of today, Shams continues to report the Raptors are maintaining interest in Sabonis and in Anthony Davis, so we'll just have to wait and see. Like, for all the people out there say Raptors never do anything. I mean, at the trade deadline, they have traded for Brandon Ingram in the past. They've traded for Jakob Poeltl in the past. Like, they've made trades. They've like previously in the season they've traded Siakam. They've traded OG Anunoby. They make trades. It's not like the Raptors do nothing. So I'd be very surprised at this point if the Raptors were to go the next few days without making a deal. Yeah. Sean's reports are so annoying at this point. I kind of disagree. Like, he has his own Twitter account. If his Twitter account annoys you, you can unfollow it. He does a lot of media hits, but like, he's being asked to do these media hits because people are interested in what he has to say. He's the very top of NBA reporting as far as accuracy. Like, when Shams reports something, that's it. It's done. And I don't know. I've never felt annoyed by it necessarily. And if I did, I guess I could just unfollow him. But I do enjoy keeping up with the league. He's not like in soccer. There's one Fabrizio Romano. He's not like him, where he's like the top soccer reporter and the equivalent of Shams to the soccer world. But he is so annoying with the sheer volume of content that comes out for each player. Like, it's, this team is interested in this guy, and they're making steps with this guy, and they're close with this guy, and I'm going to confirm soon that this guy's going here, and now we can confirm that this guy is going here, and then there's a follow-up tweet to say, yes, look, I earlier today confirmed. Like, it's such a saga for each player. Shams isn't like that. Shams just kind of goes, this is what I'm hearing here regarding a bunch of players, and then this is it. The trade is getting finalized between this team and this team for this player. Then he quote tweets and says, this trade gives this team this amount of cap space, and this gets this team the archetype of this that they needed to do this to see. Like, I think it's pretty quality reporting, you know? I don't really have an issue on his side, to be honest. Fabrizio does way too much. And the problem is I can't unfollow him. I used to have notifications on for him. I had to turn those off just because he just tweets way too much. I do still have to follow him just because, like, you have to keep up to date with everything. But it's too much. It's too much for me, unfortunately. But like I said, I believe we will see some action for the Raptors this week. And once again, I will say that like, there's a lot of people that say the Raptors never do anything. They very much typically always do something, actually. So we'll see if we get more action this year. One more shout out for the Raptors before I sign off here today. That 2019 championship roster that continues to get disrespected. There are now 6 NBA All-Stars who existed on that roster. It was Fred VanVleet having an appearance, Norman Powell now having an appearance, Marc Gasol having 3, Siakam having 4. Oh my God, I love Siakam. It doesn't sit right that he has more All-Star appearances than Marc Gasol. Kawhi Leonard has had 6. Kyle Lowry has also had 6. Kawhi with potential to add more. Not this year, but in the future. What a team, man. Oh, my God. We assembled an absolute monster of a team through scouting, through development, through drafting, and a little bit of trading. What a team. What an absolutely unbelievable team. We were so blessed to be able to watch that team for as long as we did. and to get to see we got to see him win the NBA championship. All right, we're close to wrapping up here. If you enjoyed what you saw from this stream today, make sure you've hit the like button. Also, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Momo Beat says, haven't really watched Norm this season. Does he deserve the All-Star call-up? Yes, and by my understanding, he is not a Team World player. So he beat the likes of Michael Porter Jr. and Brandon Ingram, and I think he deserves it. I'm very happy for him. If you enjoyed so far, if you enjoyed today, hit the like button, subscribe. I'm going to be doing some extra content hopefully this week for the trade deadline. I'm going to be live Wednesday and Thursday for Raptors watch-alongs. They play at 7:30 p.m. both nights. Wednesday's happy hour is being moved up to tomorrow. We're going to do a trade deadline preview. I'm just basically going to talk through my thoughts towards the trade deadline, what I think the Raptors can and should do. More in particular, I'd like to answer questions from the chat about what people are thinking when it comes to the Raptors. Thursday, I'm pretty tight on my schedule with work. I will try to do a 3 p.m. stream right at the deadline to react to anything that may have happened during the day, hopefully some stuff for the Raptors. Friday, we'll be back to normal. I'll be streaming. Actually, Friday we'll be back to normal briefly. I'll be back to doing the happy hour. Next week, shorter week because of the All-Star game. I'm going to take a little bit of time off, like one stream off for the All-Star break, but keep it locked with the channel by subscribing. Hit the notification bell so you know when content is up. You can also go to the Discord and go to the streaming updates channel, or you could go to the post part of the YouTube page, my YouTube page, homepage, and you'll get confirmation there on when streams are happening. So that's all for me. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Hopefully, I do.